Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, March 18th. We have a lot to get into today. March Madness right around the corner. We already have one of the first four games going on. That's seeing St. Francis, PA take on Alabama State. Currently 14 minutes to go in that one. St. Francis up by 4. They are the only team right now in the tournament that is sub 500. That's an interesting thing to watch for the right to play the number one seed in their quarter of the bracket. But we're also going to break down historically, based on trends, who has the actual chance to win this year. I got down to 5 teams. We're going to break through the 10 criteria that got us down to there, and then we're going to break down the strengths and weaknesses of those 5 teams, as well as a lot more stuff later on in the show. But before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, March 18th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our first topic here today, and that, as the title says, who historically, based on trends only, has the ability to win this year in March Madness. We're going off of trends 100% of the time since 2004 have shown up. Now, there are ones that you can go and whittle it down past the 5 teams we're going to get to, like 80% trends, but we're going to stick to the 100% trends, because if 80% can still be broken. But without further ado, a 10-step criteria here. We'll start off with number 1. And number 1, pretty obviously, you have to be selected, first of all. You have to make that 68-team tournament field, and that leaves us where we're at right now. 68 tournament teams. Where the real elimination starts is you have to be ranked in the top 57 of offensive efficiency by KenPom. Now, there are 43 teams of the 68 teams that hit this requirement, but you can break this down a little bit further. Only one champion in the last 20 years has broken this trend, being outside of the top 21 in offensive efficiency. So we can keep this top 57 here for now, but we're going to put an extra asterisk in front of those 20 teams that are in that top 21. We're talking Florida, Auburn, Duke, Alabama, Texas Tech, Missouri, Purdue, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Houston, BYU, so on, all the way down to Oklahoma, Iowa State down at 20 and 21. These two teams would have that extra cutoff, but really, if you're going all the way down to that 57, you get a team like UC San Diego, ranked 57th, St. Mary's at 56, Georgia at 54, Xavier at 52. These are all teams that fit that first criteria, and this is the minimum to get through. So we've eliminated just about 25 teams here. We're down to 43 teams. The next one, you have to be good at defense as well. You've got to be in the top 37 of KenPom defensive efficiency. This is going to knock our number down from 43 all the way to 26. So that's going to take out about 17 teams that were in our top 43. Now we're looking at 26 teams remaining. You've got your top teams, your Houstons, your Tennessees, your Dukes, Floridas, Auburns, Wisconsins, Gonzagas, Alabama, Arizona, Texas Techs. But again, if we're looking at these schools that you wouldn't expect to be in there, there's a couple mid-majors. You've got VCU, 23rd defensively, VCU 41st offensively. You've got UC San Diego, 30th defensively and 57th offensively. We're also looking at schools like Iowa. We're also looking at schools, like St. Mary's, who's the 8th best defensive team, and on the offensive side of the ball, also pretty high up there, sitting at 56. There are some mid-major teams that are still in the running here at 26 teams remaining, with being a top 37 KenPom defense and a top 57 KenPom offense. But as we break it down even more, we're going to start to get to some more, tight eliminations. So up next, the next criteria here for you: no winner of the NCAA tournament, of March Madness, has ever lost in the first round of their conference tournament games. What that is going to get rid of for us in the top 26 is Texas A&M, who lost in the first round of the SEC tournament. It's going to get rid of Georgia, who similarly lost in the first round of the SEC conference tournament, and UCLA, who lost in their first round of the Big Ten tournament. Now, the SEC, very good. Best conference in the history of basketball, with 14 teams making the field this year. Having 2 of their teams eliminated here hurts a little bit, but we're down to 23 teams. Tennessee, Duke, Florida, Auburn, Wisconsin, Gonzaga, Alabama, Arizona, and Texas Tech leading the charge there as the teams that were top 21 in offensive efficiency, but you've got a whole bunch more that are still fighting here. The next criteria is that no winner has ever had a first-time head coach. First time at their school, first time as being a head coach, and that's going to knock out 3 more teams. That's getting rid of Louisville, VCU, one of our mid-majors here, as well as Michigan. All 3 of those teams are gone now. A couple of those teams I think could make a bit of a run. VCU is a popular Cinderella right now. Louisville, a team that I really like out of the 8th seed. Not sure how far of a run they'll make going up against a 1 seed in the second round, but still, I like that team a lot. Michigan, a 5 seed, could also make some noise in this tournament. They just came off a big win in the Big Ten tournament. They're coming together at the right time, but by historical trends, they're out here. That brings us down to just 20 teams. The next one's going to bring us down to 19. You have to be above an 8 seed. No team has made the finals or won the finals as an 8 seed or less. We've had 11 seeds make the Final Four, but no team has won or made the finals in the NCAA March Madness tournament that isn't at least a top 8 seed, which this is going to be the end of the road for our good friend UC San Diego. They've had an amazing run so far, made it to the top 20 on our list, but they're out here as a 12 seed. It's just going to be near impossible for them to make this run. Now we're down to 19 teams. The next one I think is a little bit unfair to some of these small conferences, but we haven't really seen a winner from some of these small conferences in a while, really ever, actually. You have to have at least 4 teams in the tournament to make or win the NCAA March Madness, which is going to eliminate the teams from the West Coast Conference, St. Mary's and Gonzaga, despite still being near the top in most of these things. Both of these teams just don't have enough from the rest of their conference to really be threats when it comes to the March Madness tournament. So Gonzaga and St. Mary's get eliminated here, and we're down to just 17 teams. The 8th criteria for you is an interesting one. Since 2004, no top 2 seed that started the season unranked has ever made the Final Four. This one is going to get rid of Michigan State, just Michigan State for now. If St. John's was alive in this, they didn't make it because their offense wasn't good enough, ranked 65th in KenPom, so just outside of that 57 mark. The best defense in KenPom, though, so that's still a team to watch. Michigan State eliminated here. They were not ranked at the beginning of the season. That brings us down to 16 teams. And the next one I think is really interesting. Week 6 in the AP poll is the most important week as for the trend goes. Every single winner since 2004 was ranked in the top 12 in Week 6 of the AP poll. This one is going to be the last big eliminator that we have. With 16 teams remaining, Houston, Tennessee, Duke, Florida, Auburn, Wisconsin, Alabama, Arizona, Texas Tech, Maryland, Iowa State, Kansas, Clemson, Mississippi, Marquette, and Oregon, we're going to get rid of 7 of them here. Mississippi, Clemson, Maryland, Texas Tech, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Houston. All eliminated. They were not in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll. We're looking at that Week 6 AP poll. Some of the teams that just missed out. Oklahoma was at 13. Houston was at 15. We're looking at Mississippi. Ole Miss was down there at 18. Wisconsin was at 20. This was a tough draw for some of these teams. They just missed this criteria. But now we're down to just 9 teams. 9 teams before we get to our final criteria. And as it stands right now, those top 9, Tennessee, Auburn, Duke, Alabama, Florida, Iowa State, Marquette, Oregon, and Kansas. Now, Iowa State is going to have a little bit of an asterisk on it, and I'm not gonna take them out of these trends just because they don't have their best player due to injury, but that is something to keep an eye on, despite them making this far. But unfortunately, their ride does end here. The final criteria is that they must have won 25 games or more in the regular season or before the tournament starts. That limits us down to just 5 teams. We get to see Iowa State, Marquette, Oregon, and Kansas all be eliminated. And one of the cool things about this is when we separated the teams that were in the top 21 for Ken Pom offense from the top 57 in Ken Pom offense, the 5 teams left all were in that top range. We're looking at Tennessee, Auburn, Duke, and Florida. Now, this might not be too much of a surprise. You've got 1 seeds all around. Auburn, Duke, and Florida, 1 seeds. You've got 2 seeds right behind them in Tennessee and Alabama. But this is a bracket that, unlike a lot of years in the past, is going to be incredibly chalky. In the past 5 years, there's been at least 1 5 or greater seed that's made it to the Final Four. I just can't see that happening this year. The field at the top is just so immensely talented. This could be a year. The only other time that all the 1 seeds have made it was 2008, where all 4 1 seeds made the Final Four. This could very well be a year that we see all 4 1 seeds make the Final Four. If we're talking about where these teams stand, though, we're going to look at that Ken Pom offensive and defensive efficiency rating, right? Florida has been a favorite from a lot of analysts to win this year for good reason. They're number 1 in offensive efficiency and sitting at number 10 in defensive efficiency. Auburn is kind of the opposite. Auburn at number 2, or kind of on the same track, I should say, number 2 in offensive efficiency while sitting 12th in defensive efficiency. Tennessee and Duke are the top 2 defensive efficiency teams left on our elimination tiers. Tennessee, 3rd best defense by Ken Pom. Duke, the 4th best defense. When we take a look at where these teams stand on offense, Duke at number 3, an incredibly well-rounded team. Tennessee down there at 18, probably the weakest offense of all the teams remaining. And the other outlier on this group is Alabama at 32nd in defensive efficiency. Despite being number 4th in offensive efficiency, this is a team that is going to be just a barn burner like they were in years past. You've got the top 4 teams in offensive efficiency as well as the number 18 team in offensive efficiency to go with number 3 and number 4, number 10, 12, and 32 in defensive efficiency, which helps you show in college basketball. Offense is a little bit more important than the defense here, but still, having these teams up there, all 5 of them have a real shot to do it. This is going to be a tough year, but if you're looking at finding upsets, I just don't think making a crazy bracket that sees a lot of these lower 4, 5, 6 seeds, 7 seeds, 11 seeds, making deep runs in the tourney this year, making it past the Elite 8, making it to the Final Four, making it to the Sweet 16 is possible, but making it to the Elite 8, I think is just going to be really tough with how many top-tier teams there are in this year's tournament. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you think is going to win this year's tournament? Do you think is going to follow the trends and have it be one of these 5? Tennessee, Auburn, Duke, Alabama, or Florida? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to NIL. College football is a huge part of this, but also college basketball as well. There's been an update with how they're going to handle NIL, whether it's going to be legal, how the schools are going to start paying them out. We're going to talk about all that and more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.